Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, everyone? Today's live session is about the Ielts listening test. As you know, we have already finished the Ielts listening test on our free course on Zoom. Today, I'd like to give you a very quick review of the structure of the Ielts listening test, how just to give you a summary of the basic components of the Ielts listening test. Let's start by the basic information of the test. The test, guys, lasts for 30 minutes. After the 30 minutes, you will be given extra 10 minutes to transfer your answer to the answer sheet. You have 40 questions divided into 4 sections, or let's say 4 parts. Each part has 10 questions. I mean, part 1, 10 questions, part 2, 10 questions, section 3, 10 questions, and section 4, again, 10 questions. All in all, you have 40 questions. One of the most important points in the IELTS listening test that the answers always go in order. I mean, when you hear the answer for number 2, directly expect to hear the answer for number 3, and so on. After number 3, wait or expect to hear the answer for number 4, and so on. About the main types of questions you have in the IELTS listening test, you have 3 main types of questions: gap fill, multiple choice, and matching. These are the 3 main types of questions you will have in the IELTS listening test. Which accent do you hear? You hear various English accents, but mainly the British accent. In some cases, you hear the Australian accent as well. But the main accent you hear is the standard British accent. You only hear the recording once. The recording will not be repeated. As I told you, we have 4 sections in the IELTS listening test. Section 1, in this section, you hear a conversation between 2 speakers about an everyday conversation, nothing academic here. For example, a conversation about travel arrangements, booking accommodations, or decisions on a night out. 2 speakers, as I told you, it's a conversation. It's about an everyday conversation like making a bouquet, nothing academic there. One speaker gives the basic information. I mean, one of the 2 speakers asks, and the other one gives him the basic information he needs. When I said basic information, I mean name, address, dates, times, numbers, price, and so on. All in all, this section, I mean section 1, is easy. It's not that hard compared to the other sections. One of the key techniques to deal with in the IELTS listening test is use breaks to read ahead. I mean, while listening, you will be given some time to read the questions, some time to review what you will do. This period of time may be half a minute, maybe less. Very, very important for you to read, to skim the questions very carefully, to underline the keywords, to know why you will listen. Very simple. We never listen to every single word we hear. This is impossible, by the way. You only hear to get the answers. What does it mean? It means you should focus on the exam paper, know which information you need, and we will get to the details soon. But I just need to clarify the most important point is that you have breaks. During the breaks, before the audio file starts, you should please focus to read ahead, read the instructions, read the questions themselves, know what you should do. Before each section starts, you have a break. In the middle of each section, you have a break, except for section 4. In section 4, you will not have a break in the middle of the last 10 questions. And of course, at the end of each section, you have a break. Let's move on to the next part, which is section 2. Section 2 is a monologue, a speech by one person. It will be set in an everyday social context, again, nothing academic. For example, a speech about student services on a university campus, or arrangements for meals during a conference. Again, you have a break. You should use it carefully to read ahead before the file starts. I mean the audio file. Again, one speaker. It's a short speech. One person again and again. Don't forget. Let me admit one, please, here. Just a minute, if you don't mind. Okay. Thank you. Okay, one speaker only, a short speech about a non-academic topic, tourism, park, local facilities, and so on. Again, gap fill, multiple choice, MCQ questions. You have choices A, B, C, for example. In some cases, A, B, C, and D, matching. You have a break in the middle, about half a minute. So you will have to prepare maybe five questions at a time, which is a good chance for you to read, to know why you will listen. Section 3 is a conversation between up to 4 people, 2, 3, or 4. For example, a conversation between a tutor, teacher, and a student about an assignment, or between 3 students planning a research project. Again, use the break to read and underline the key words. 2 or 3 speakers, probably 2 main speakers, and maybe even a third, a teacher with 2 students. Conversation related to education or training, tutor about an assignment, about a project, about a presentation, and likewise. Gap fill, multiple choice. It's not that hard, by the way. One of the key points here in section 3 is that in some cases the words in the questions themselves are many words. Even the choices, you may have the choices in sentences, in complete sentences. One of the important techniques here is to underline the key words and in the questions themselves and in the choices in both. What I mean by the key words, the most important words in the questions and the most important words in the choices themselves. Why? This will help you keep track while listening. This will help you focus on what you need to answer the questions themselves. So please bear this in mind. And one important issue, guys, you will not hear the same words in the questions. You will hear the same meaning expressed differently using different words. You will not hear the same words. You will hear the same meaning but expressed differently using synonym language. I mean, using synonyms of the words you have on the exam paper, or paraphrasing. I mean, explaining the word in different words, in other words. So, this is very important. You might not, let me read it here. You might not hear the exact words that are given in the question. You might hear a similar word. Let's move on to section 4. Section 4, this is the final part of the IELTS listening test. It is another monologue. It's a lecture or talk of general academic interest, such as a university lecture. Again, you have a break at the end of section 3. Use it, please, to read ahead section 4, to underline the most important words, the key words, in the questions and in the choices themselves. Very important. And think about an important issue, how the examiner will express the same meaning using different words. This is very, very important. He will not use the exact same words. He will use different words. Very important. No break in the middle of section 4. One speaker, a speech about an academic topic. Again, gap fill, multiple choice. Again and again, don't forget, listen for key words or synonyms, very important. The idea is here, it's we can say more difficult compared with the others, but I don't agree with this session. You will get to know that soon. It's a faster speech, more content, extra information which might not contain any of the answers. This is one of the features of section 4. In section 4, you hear a lot of information. In some cases, the audio file is about 10 minutes for section 4. So you hear a lot of extra information. Even in some cases, you have to wait for about 2 minutes before you start answering question 31, for example. So don't get nervous. Just keep an eye on the keywords. This is very, very important. Now let's move to the tips. General tips for the IELTS listening test. Read ahead to know why you will listen, to predict the answer, to try to get what synonym language will the examiner use, will the speaker say, and don't only check back in the end, guys. If you are not sure about, for example, question number 28, don't stop at 28. Move with the audio file and check later. Underline the key words, the most important words in the audio file. Listen for key words or synonyms. You will not hear the same words. Don't forget. Spelling, if for any spelling mistake, no mark. Even if you have a capitalization mistake, again, no mark. Don't get stuck on a difficult question. I mean, if you face difficulty in number 1, 2, or whatever, move on. Don't stop. Why? Because 100% you will lose track of the whole audio file. Again, this is section 1, social needs, 2 speakers. Section 2, a monologue, 1 speaker. Section 3, conversation about maybe up to 4 speakers, maybe 3. Section 4, a monologue by 1 speaker about an academic subject, normally a lecture. Now, what should we do when you see the exam paper? This is very, very important. When you have the exam paper, number 1, read the instructions carefully. This is very, very important. If the examiners ask you to write 1 word and you write 2 words, no mark. If he asks you to write a number and you wrote a word, no mark. If he asks you to choose 2 options and you choose 1, again, you may lose marks, and so on. You should read the instructions carefully to know how many words, to know how many questions at a time. For example, he will ask you to have a look at questions 1 to 5 only. So don't confuse yourself. 2, skim the questions during the 30 seconds given. You are given 30 seconds. What should you do? Skim to know what the topic is, and very quickly read the questions, underline the keywords, know and know what type of information you need, and try to predict the synonym language or the paraphrasing of the questions you are asked to read. Then underline the keywords before and after the blank line, and think of the mentality of the examiners, how they will express the same meaning differently, using different words, how it may be paraphrased. During the listening, they will use synonyms for these keywords and connect the answer to these keywords that come before and after the blank line. This part is very important. You may hear all the choices A, B, C, and D, but the idea is which one is related to the key words in the question itself, which one is needed to answer the question you have. If you are in section 1, try to work out, do you want a name, a date, a place, a price, and so on. Listen to the introduction carefully. In the audio file starts with introducing the topic, what the speakers will talk about, where, when, and so on. Listen carefully. Why? This will help you to focus, and In that moment, you should try to remember what words may the speakers use and what words may be related to the key words you have already underlined. 7. Answer the questions as you listen, not after. The answers will be given in the same order as the questions, although they may be expressed differently. If you have any questions, you can write a comment so that I can get any help you need so that I can answer you. Okay? Next, this is the test overview here. Tricks. Guys, the examiners love to use tricks to distract you, to get you distracted, and we have 8 main tricks or traps the examiners use. Number 1, sentence reorder, synonym language, self-correction, delayed response, exact language, multiple options, positive, negative, provide all possible answers. These are the tricks that the examiners use to get you distracted. Let's get more details here. Yes, this is the first one. Good. Trap information. Guys, the main trap you have to watch for is the use of synonym language for the words before and after the blank line. You will not hear the same words as you have in the exam paper. The examiners will express the same meaning using different words by synonym language, by paraphrasing. Don't expect to hear the exact same words. So, as soon as you underline a keyword, directly think of how the examiners will say it in a different way. Often in the listening, they will use synonyms, I mean the examiners, to disguise when the answer is being said. The second most popular trap is when they do a word reorder. During the listening, they will often move the answer to the beginning of the sentence. I mean, you will not hear the sentence or the answer exactly where the blank line is. I mean, exactly before and after the words you have in the exam paper. No, the sentence or the words in the sentence will be reordered. They will be put in a different order to disguise the answer, to get you distracted. So keep an eye on the keywords, but also keep an eye on how the examiners will reorder the sentence, will use a different sentence structure. During the listening, they will often move the answer to the beginning of the sentence, maybe to the end, maybe far away from the blank line, and so on. Switch the subject and object or move around the words before and after the blank line. Move the answer to the Okay, let's maybe far. Let's move to the second one. Yeah, this is an example, only an example of how the examiners use synonym language here. You see a word and you hear a different one, or you hear a word and you see a different one, and so on. Don't expect to read a word and don't expect to hear the exact same word for the answer. You may hear it, but it's not the answer, by the way. We will come to that soon. Next, self-correction, very important. Say a possible answer by one of the speakers, then he or she corrects himself or rejects the idea and follows up with the correct answer. So please don't fly with the fastest answer you get. The speakers may correct themselves or they may be corrected by other speakers in the audio file. Next, used to. Normally, any answer after used to is not the correct one. Very often they will say the price used to be $5, for example. What does it mean? It means it was $5, which means 5 is not the correct answer. Okay? Whatever follows used to or other similar language like former, for example, is the wrong answer. Okay? Thank you. Next one, multiple options. Whenever you have a number as a possible answer, for example, You are asked to write down the price, and you have three options: 6, 7, 8, and 9. I guess you will hear all of them, but only one of them is related to the answer you need. He will mention all choices A, B, C, and D, but only one is related to what you need. How? How can I know that? Very simple. By underlining the keywords, by knowing what you need to answer, not any number. Don't fly with the fastest answer you get. So let me read it to you. Whenever you have a number as a possible answer, they will say two or three numbers to make you think the answer is something else. You must listen for the number connected to the key word in the question. Connected by the keyword, connected to the keyword. Keyword again, the most important word in the exam paper, which will help you get the answer. Next. Lesson 4, target information. This is very simple, especially in part 1. I mean, you need a phone number. Get ready to listen to a phone number. You need a date, number, money, weight, and so on. This is very simple, don't worry. Prediction, very, very important. Before the audio file starts, you should very, very quickly try to predict what the examiners will say. Try to predict what the answer may be. Recognize the words that can change, predict the synonym, also recognize on gap filling where the blank line is in the sentence and so on. Also predict, this is grammatically, guys, predict the part of speech you need. Do you need a noun, a verb, an adjective, an adverb? If you need a noun, is it a proper noun? It must be capitalized like the name of people, for example. Do you need a singular noun or a plural one, and so on? This is related to grammar. Let's move on to more tricks here. In some cases, you are asked to write words with silent letters. Very important. If you have any spelling mistake, no mark. In some cases, you are asked to write compound nouns, irregular plural or verbs, words which are commonly hard, but I guess you will have no problem here. Gaps which are grammatically different from the words in the listening text. Excellent, perfect. A very nice point here. You may hear a noun, but when you look at the exam paper, grammatically, you should change the noun you have listened to the adjective, to a different word form, and so on. Very, very important, this one. Many students make mistakes here. You will hear the answer, it's a noun. But grammatically, when you have a look at the exam paper, you should write the adjective and so on. Select the right answer from several things that are mentioned, all mentioned. This is very important, very simple, related to what you need to answer, related to the key words in the question itself. This is the number 4. Yeah, it's written here. A long time before the answer to the first question, especially in part 4. In part 4, you wait for a long time before you get the answer. More tricks. Asking to write times or dates, you should know how to, very simple. Testing comprehension of numbers, again. Yes, very important here. Answers which are antonyms or opposite of the words in the text. In some cases, you listen to the speaker saying a word, but they said it in the negative form, and you didn't hear that well. So make sure you listen to many accents, especially the British one. The short form of the negative, why you may isn't short, and the answer is tall, for example, the opposite, and so on. Pronunciation, very important. Some words have silent letters, and here, for example, if we have the word accent, the plural is accents. The T is not there in pronunciation. Very important to study for a while the pronunciation issues related to the Ielts listening test. I mean stress, also the silent letters, consonant clusters, and so on. Especially again the British accent. You have a lot of materials on the internet to help you get familiarized with the British accent. Let's move on here. Again, here consonant combinations, right? Very important. Uh, some words end in ed. In some cases, the ed is pronounced t sound. Very important to bear this in mind. Again, tricks, guys. The examiners do not put it that easy. Don't expect to get it that easy, but you know the tricks. So it's not that hard to know how the examiners will trick you. If you practice a lot, you will have no issue in answering the IELTS listening exam. In some cases, varied amount of time before the answers to the questions. You hear the answer for number 2, for example, then you wait a very long time before you get the answer for number 3. Don't get nervous. The idea is, bear in mind you have the key words in the exam paper. Try to predict how the examiners will say it differently. An important issue here, again, I said that about pronunciation, about the long varied time between the answer for questions. One of the most important point in pronunciation, guys, and in many cases, the answers for the questions are spoken louder than the other words. This is to help you. So I guess the IELTS listening exam is not that easy. Don't worry about that. Just try to practice a lot, answer exams, and when you answer exams, very important, correct. After you correct, have a look at the script itself to know why you made mistakes and try to focus on the mistakes you have made when you answer the common exams. This is a very quick review of the test. Hopefully, it will help you. Thanks so much. I'll see you soon.